name Samael means venom of God. In Latin, it is translated as Lucifer. It is also mentioned in Targum Jonathan on Genesis 3-6 that Samael is titled Malak Mvota A, read Malak Mota, meaning the angel of death. Even though the faces of angels undoubtedly are far more beautiful than the faces of the children of men, Acts 6:15, yet before God, they cover them because they cannot bear the dazzling brightness of divine glory. If the angels themselves are so respectful in serving God, how much more should we approach his throne with godly fear?
Then said I, Woe is me, for I am undone, because I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips, for mine eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts. Then flew one of the seraphims unto me, having a live coal in his hand, which he had taken with the tongs from off the altar. And he laid it upon my mouth, and said, Lo, this hath touched thy lips, and thine iniquity is taken away, and thy sin purged.
The seraphim flying towards the prophet Isaiah signifies that they are not omnipresent, as they cannot be simultaneously at the throne of God and in front of the prophet Isaiah. The term seraphim in this context refers to angels, meaning the burning ones, which might indicate their purity as they serve God around his throne. They reflect the glory of God to such an extent that they appear as if they are burning. The seraphim flew to the prophet Isaiah to purify him before he approached God in his glory. When Isaiah was about to draw near to God, the seraphim brought a live coal from the altar and touched his lips with it, not to harm him, but to heal him. And it was not to burn him, but to cleanse him. For there is purification by fire, just as there is by water, and the filth of Jerusalem is cleansed by a spirit of burning. The blessed Spirit works like fire. The seraphim, who themselves are ignited by divine fire, imparted life to the prophet so that he too might be kindled with zeal. This divine fire represents the glory of God himself. God, who is present in his glory, manifests in the uncreated divine fire from which the angels are also created. For the way to cleanse lips from the impurity of sin is by burning the soul with the love of God. This coal was taken from the altar, whether from the altar of incense or the altar of burnt offering, as both have fires that burn continuously. There is nothing more powerful in cleansing and comforting the soul than what is derived from the atoning sacrifice of Christ and his continuous intercession based on that atonement. It is the coal from his altar that surely gives us life and brings us peace. This will not happen with a strange fire. The Hebrew word Seraphim is a plural noun derived from the noun SARAF, which has multiple meanings: venomous, fiery, burning, causing inflammation, and venomous snake.
And the Lord said unto Moses, Make thee a fiery serpent, Hebrew, Seraph, and set it upon a pole, and it shall come to pass that every one that is bitten, when he looketh upon it, shall live. Numbers 21-8.
The noun Sharap, read Saraf, comes from the verb that forms its root. Sharap, read Saraf, meaning to burn, to flame. The noun SARAF, in the sense of fiery burning, gives rise to the interpretation that Satan originated from a group of seraphim, Hebrew, Seraphim, read Seraphim, who worshipped God, as recorded in Isaiah 6:1-3. As an angel with the characteristic Seraph, fiery, burning, Satan has the ability to disguise himself as an angel of light.
And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light.
Satan can present himself as an attractive figure and is skillful in speech. The first woman in the Garden of Eden was deceived by him. This interpretation is noted in Targum Jonathan on Genesis 3:6, and Aramaic Targum to Job 28:7. The devil is named Samael, from the word Sam meaning drug, poison, and El, God. Therefore, the name Samael means venom of God. In Latin, it is translated as Lucifer. It is also mentioned in Targum Jonathan on Genesis 3-6. That Samael is titled Malach Mvota A, read Malach Mota, meaning the angel of death, because he caused humans to fall into sin and brought them into the consequence of death, even eternal death. By combining the literal understanding of the word seraphim as bright burning beings with the noun SARAF, which can also mean venomous serpent, and considering the understanding given by the Apostle Paul in 2 Corinthians 11:14, where Satan is described as having the ability to deceive humans by transforming into various forms, even as an angel of light as he once was. Also, understanding the Apostle John's description in Revelation 12:9-22, the great dragon, the ancient serpent, who is called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world. We can accept the interpretation that Satan likely originated from the ranks of Seraphim angels, angels of light, or these burning angels. If the cherubim with 2 wings support the throne of God, the Seraphim are described in Isaiah 6:2 as having 6 wings, serving as guardians of the holiness of God's throne in its burning brightness. See Exodus 25:18.
Above it stood the seraphims. Each one had 6 wings. With twain he covered his face, and with twain he covered his feet, and with twain he did fly.
Look at the bright and blessed servants above his throne, through whom and by whom his glory is celebrated and his rule is served. Above the throne, the seraphim seem to hover over it or near it, bowing before it with their eyes fixed on it. The seraphim stand, the holy angels called Seraphim, burning ones, because God makes flaming fire his ministers. Psalm 104:4. They burn with love for God, are passionate for his glory and eager to oppose sin. God uses them as instruments of his wrath when he acts as a consuming fire against his enemies. Each of them has 6 wings, not spread upward, as seen in Ezekiel 1:11, but 4 wings are used for covering, like the wings of birds when they are at rest. With 2 wings above, beside their heads, they cover their faces, and with the 2 lowest wings, they cover their feet or lower parts. This speaks of their humility and great reverence in serving God, for he is greatly feared among the holy ones. Psalm 89:7. They not only cover their feet, those less honorable members, or Corinthians 12:23, but even their faces. Even though the faces of angels undoubtedly are far more beautiful than the faces of the children of men, Acts 6:15, yet before God, they cover them because they cannot bear the dazzling brightness of divine glory. And being aware of the infinite distance from divine perfection, they are ashamed to show their faces before the holy God, whose angels he finds flawed if they dare to compete with him. Job 4:18. If the angels themselves are so respectful in serving God, how much more should we approach his throne with godly fear? 2 wings are used for flying. When they are sent to carry out God's tasks, they fly swiftly, Daniel 9:21, faster on their own wings than if they were flying on the wings of the wind. And they called out to one another, saying, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty, the whole earth is full of his glory." Isaiah 6:3. Listen to the hymn or song of praise sung by the angels to honor him who sits on the throne. Notice, he is holy, 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 infinitely holy, holy from the beginning, perfectly holy, and eternally holy. This may refer to the 3 persons of the Godhead, the Holy Father, the Holy Son, and the Holy Spirit. Or it could refer to him who was, who is, and who is to come, as the title of God's honor is added to this song, Revelation 4:8.